Superman 23, Brian Michael Bendis writing with Kevin McGuire on the art. Hey, that's a good artist. Nice art.
Good, good, yeah.
Something I
Great
like.
tandem here.
Yeah. So this is the start of a new arc, which is interesting because we kind of wrapped up the Rogol stuff and the uh like all the truth stuff, like all that was kind of done, and it starts off. I actually missed the lettering here that said 3 weeks ago. The first time I read the first couple of pages, it wasn't until I got to the second flashback that I went, "Oh, that previous one was also set before," which made sense because it was clearly because I thought this feels like Leviathan stuff. This thing that shows up at the DEO.
Because it was. I was like, I've seen this scene because I did the same thing where I missed. So I was reading at work, and when you have everybody talking, you kind of just focus on what you can. And so I went back a couple pages, like, oh yeah, this makes so much more sense.
Yeah. So basically, all the flashbacks are building up this this entity that bonds itself to this agent that works at the DEO. Which I actually really appreciate. Once I got to the end, I actually kind of liked how it built up to it through the various flashbacks.
So this is Superman doing magic. So Bendis is hitting all these aspects of Superman. I feel like he has like a checklist, and now he's got to magic. We're used to reading Justice League Dark when we got to the Lords of Order stuff.
I can't remember.
Because this feels like very hand in hand with that, down to this character, he is the overlord of the Lords of Chaos. He feels like when the Lords of Order got together with all the armor pieces, he feels like the inverse of that. So I don't know if it's Bendis like pulling from that or just similar thought, but I thought it was a really fun touch, especially because he goes to, we get Khalid Fate in this one.
Yeah, Joe, it's funny actually. When Dr. Fate showed up for a couple of pages, I went, I'm going to have to ask them who's Dr. Fate right now. But then he took off his helmet and said who he was. So I was like, okay, never mind then. Never mind. So yeah, the main plot of the issue. We'll go back to the villain stuff when I get to the bigger stuff at the end. But the main plot is that Superman has an appointment with the Doctor to the point where when Dr. Fate shows up at the Hall of Justice, he's like, the Doctor will see you now, very enigmatically. Wonder Twins are there for a cameo. He runs into most of the Justice League Dark. Is there something with Constantine here? This bit where he tells Superman not to talk about his name, and calls him like Billy, I think, at one point.
I feel like he's messing with him because he's saying that it's Shazam, not Superman, or something. Why else would you call him Billy?
Yeah, I got confused here. I didn't get the joke here, to be honest. I felt a bit of it.
Well, either did I, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go over this. I'm gonna guess it's kind of a take on how much Shazam and Superman look alike, So, but yeah, Constantine knows this is post the truth, so he knows he's not.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows. One of my favorite jokes in the issue is the Wonder Twins, where it's like, oh, come on, stop with the Clark. It's his name.
Yeah. I just, I know Russell did the Wonder Twins, but Bendis is taking the spirit of that book. And whether it's them in Young Justice or right here, he nails Zan's whole, laissez-faire attitude towards everything on Earth.
So basically, Superman goes to the Tower of Fate, and he wants Dr. Fate to check him out because everyone's kind of worried about him. Lois and co, Batman, all that sort of stuff. And he does like a mystical checkup and sees, is there anything attached to you? Is there anything going on? And basically, it turns into more of a therapy session where Superman is kind of, he's asking Superman questions about what he's been going through, and he talks about, John sort of getting lost in space, coming back years older, and eventually kind of breaking down and admitting that, this kind of gets to him, that he missed some of those years he was looking forward to of John's life, and it was kind of a nice little, almost like, not recap, but like exploration of everything that we've had since the start of Bendis' run.
Well, not just that, and it's Superman's almost therapy. That he needs to talk about this, but he's also so busy about being Superman, and I can't let anything bother me, and I just have to be positive and move on. But it's starting to crack, and I liked seeing that from him because he's upset that he missed out on these formative years of his son's life, because he ultimately helped make the decision for John to go with Jor-El, and so there's a bit of responsibility there.
Every time he is about to, he's explaining these things, he always sort of rounds up by saying, "I don't blame Jor-El, or I don't blame so and so, I don't blame that," and Khalid says, "Look, this is not about blame, but you're allowed to feel frustrated." And this is what gets to his like actual page where he's like sort of breaks down a little bit, and he basically yells out, "I wanted to watch my son grow up," and he's lost this. So yeah, so the woman's essentially been possessed, the DEO agent, because it kind of it coalesces at the end a little bit where she's coming to the Hall of Justice, and this being, because she goes to Madame Xanadu actually before. That's one of the flashbacks. So she goes to, and she says, "Have you ever heard of Xanadoth?" And it's like, no. Is it like a distant relative that I'm unaware of? And basically Xanadoth shows up at the end. The big cliffhanger is that he's went into the DEO. He goes into the Tower of Fate and says, that helmet belongs to me. I am the, what was it said? I am the Lord of the Lords of Chaos. So the true helmet, or true owner of the Helmet of Fate.
Which to me doesn't make sense, because as much as I know about Naboo, he is the guardian of the Lords of Order. So this is where the magic stuff, I start to be like, I can't keep it all straight. That's
why I don't like magic that much, Matt.
Oh no, I like magic when there's rules, like you've always said too, and I feel like Tynan and now Ram V, they broke down magic enough to now that there's these new rules, and here now you have Bendis. Well, now this Lord of Chaos is saying he's, that belongs to him, and I'm like, oh man, I thought we cleared this up already. So yeah, no, but it's fine. I like when magic shows up and interacts with Superman because he's so out of his element. Like he can deal with an alien invasion, right? And Rogol Zar and the United Planets. But you start doing the magic stuff with him, and he is he's in the same position as everybody else. So, but I don't get very sinister vibes from this Xanadoth guy. Like I don't feel like he's this big, like, hulking monster. So I wonder if this is going to be him and Superman talking stuff out, and about how
your mic's going, Matt. What I liked about this issue, because I'm obviously not a big magic guy, and like maybe it helps that I've not been reading Dark, so I don't feel as contradictory with what's going on.
Sure.
But what I like how it builds up the character, like, because I love the little tease as she's walking into the Hall of Justice, and it's kind of like, the Hall of Justice, is closing in 15 minutes. Please visit the gift shop. Snapper Car merchandise is 75% off, because they probably can't sell it otherwise. But no, I like the build up and the flashbacks to just sort of building some intrigue of who this is and how it's taking over this woman, and how it's building up to kind of whatever its goal is, whatever its motivation is. And then I like the therapy side of Superman because it's all very character based. It's it's in the Tower of Fate, but it's not necessarily focused on the magic side of it. It's about character. So while it's verging into magic, and we'll see what the next issue does, maybe I won't like it as much, but I think this issue works quite well for me because it slowly builds the villain side, and all the Superman stuff is very kind of like very much reflective of everything he's went through in this run, and it makes it all feel like, again, like it's unified, like it doesn't just feel like it's moved on to a new arc and forgotten everything from before. It still feels like it's part of one big tapestry, which I appreciate.
Even with at the beginning, there's this panel's been going around of Superman stopping to take a picture with the kid, that wants to meet him, and he's just kind of like, the public's superhero, and I feel like Bendis has really embraced that over his course of writing him, which is really, really nice. Because for the longest time, he kind of had outsider Superman at play, and now he's focusing on him being almost focusing on his humanity, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what I was getting at before my mic went out was just that I feel like this Xanadoth guy seems like this dark, sinister force, but I feel with Khalid and Superman talking most of this issue out, I definitely feel this is going to be more akin to like a conversation and not so much a fight. And I feel like the lesson's going to be about, you can, without chaos, there's no order. And so Superman has to go through all of this stuff so he can keep his own self in line, and maybe it'll play something to do with Leviathan as well, for Bendis to bring all that back up. Like that's where she was when all this went down.
And I think it's interesting here that even Superman hasn't told Lois, like, some of the things that he's saying to Fate here, he's not even said to Lois. That's him
Right.
opening up with this idea that he doesn't want to burden anyone with like how he feels, or even himself. Like he kind of almost pushes it to the back of his mind, like to the point where he's almost surprised at himself when he yells out that he's upset about missing John's ears, even though he obviously would be. Why wouldn't he be? But it's really solid character stuff for Superman, and kind of I could take an issue of Superman lying on a therapist couch, just talking about your stuff, So I knew that was coming. All right, so obviously art's great. I love McGuire's art. I think it works really well for Superman. It's not necessarily the Superman art I would pick for a therapy session per se, which is not a complaint. Just so much that I think of McGuire's art. I think of pulpy, kind of heroic, bright colors. I think of
his Supergirl run.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. I get what you're coming from.
So it's an interesting. Obviously, some of that's in here. Him taking photos with the kids and all that stuff, but it's definitely solid art and very pleasing to the eye, and I have very little complaints. So, Matt, what are you giving Superman issue 23?
I'll give it an 8.5.
I'll give it a solid 8. 8 out of 10 for me.